fortunate. And so we have a lot to talk about, just a lot to get to. And if you want, hi everybody, welcome
Let's
to
talk
the
about
conversation.
love, health and wellness, transformation, yeah, we got it. Discuss your breakthroughs, national
Our local
issues.
Bahamians, but also those who are listening around the region and the world this afternoon. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have an audience that really from Europe to the United States, Canada, around the region, and of course, Bahamians right here who are very interested in just wanting to know the answers and ask the questions that get them the answers that they seek. Before we
need a little inspiration, tune into the conversation. Talk about it on the conversation.
This is the time,
when you need a little
when the country really need to find ways to join together to fight common problems that we have. Collaborative leadership.
You need a little conversation. We can go far with the conversation. Here we should meet on the conversation, yeah.
Please share the video, share. Tag some people in the live feed, share it in your private Facebook group, share it in your WhatsApp group.
Here we should meet on the conversation, yeah.
To the conversation. It's Wednesday, y'all. Wednesday. I can't think of an alliteration. My mind just ain't there at the moment. But I want to say this. Welcome to the conversation. Hot topics, 1 hour. We're doing this. We're getting in. I want to say a big good afternoon to everybody who is streaming. Everybody. And if I don't jump in quickly and acknowledge the lady who was first, the person who was first, I have a feeling it's going to be a fight in the live stream. And so good afternoon to you. Good, Kizzy Aisha Newton, one thing at a time. Let me just say good afternoon to you. And hey, you are the first person. You said hello, you made it known, everything. And I saw you. The first person to be on the live stream. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to everybody who's watching. Thalia Sawyer. Good afternoon to, there's Sandra Humes. Good afternoon. Hannah, pardon me. Sandra Hanna. Good afternoon to you. Deborah Humes. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to everybody who is watching, those who are coming in now. Good afternoon to you. Black Velvet, Tay Taylor. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to everybody. Rosemary Murray, good afternoon to you as well. It's wonderful to have you all streaming live today. Welcome to the show. Man, a lot's going on. You know, guys, I tell you, on Sunday, I was happy that I had the show that I had on Sunday where we did not talk anything of what was going on in the headlines. Sometimes it's just too much. It's overbearing, you know? But today, of course, is Hot Topics. And of course, Monday was a holiday. So today we're back for the first time for the week. And if you've been paying attention to the headlines, or if you like to kind of just tap out from time to time, you know, of course, that the country's first deputy prime minister and former governor general, AD Hanna, passed away overnight last evening. He was 93 years old, such an incredible personality and a big personality in a small person. He had to be not even maybe 5'5", you know, but just really somebody who warmed the hearts of everybody he came into contact with, never was pretentious and all that. And we will hear what the panelists have to say, but I know I met him several times as Governor General. I interviewed him and sat with him. You guys, the picture is on the picture from 2013 is on the page. I posted that today, and just always just really warm and engaging and so knowledgeable, man, so knowledgeable. But good afternoon to everybody. Let me just say hi again to those who are just coming in. Good afternoon to you, Philippa Newton. Thank you, my lady. Thank you. I should have come on with a little bit of makeup today, right? To just make it really nice. Hello to you, Lorraine Roll, watching from Eleuthera. Good afternoon to you. Hi, Florina Roll. Good afternoon to you. Hello, Linda Forbes. Good afternoon. Thank you, Kizzy. Thank you so much. Yes. But when you see me in person, we'll talk about. But thank you, guys. Thank you. I just needed something different, you know, something different. Hi to you, Karen Barr. Good afternoon to you. And guys, so welcome to the conversation. I want to jump right in and welcome the Hot Topic panelists. Let's just get right in there. Good afternoon to you, Danielle Gibson, out of Eleuthera. I know we have someone in Eleuthera who's watching. Good afternoon to you. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Shanique. Good afternoon, Bahamas, and all of your audience is tuned in today. And I'm loving this look, sister.
Thank you. Thank you, my lady. Thank you so much. And how's everything been going? We haven't had you haven't been on for a minute because I've been doing remote stuff and then there's been holidays and all that stuff.
Yep, and I've been doing some traveling, but
Yes.
Eleuthera is a hot topic these days. So
Well, because I see the numbers in Eleuthera are creeping up like everywhere else. It's not just really synonymous to Eleuthera. It is a wild time, Danielle. Do we have Glenroy Pratt in as yet before we jump in? When he comes in, Cara, let him come in. Of course, not too late, but let him come in. But Danielle, it's a wild time. You know, we talked about the numbers in Eleuthera, the numbers here in Nassau. You see them on the dashboard every day. The dashboard just came out about an hour ago. I probably need to start posting it back on the page every day. I kind of just pulled back for a moment, but people need to see those numbers. Danielle, and then just before airtime, we got word, it was sent out an official, very, very brief press release that Wayne Monroe, the PLP's candidate for Freetown, has tested positive for COVID. He is in doctor's hospital, so obviously he had to seek medical attention. But has tested positive, and you know it never was a joking matter. Like I saw somebody say, "Boy, things serious now." No, it's always been. But truly, it's sobering now. You know, to just hear everything around you.
Right. And I think that the numbers are rising because there's a lot of different reasons why numbers are rising. While we tend to think, and and I applaud everyone that wants to get vaccinated and has gotten vaccinated thus far. You do your part as you see fit, and it's always personal responsibility. You have to always remember to wear your mask and to wash your hands and to remain as socially distant as you can. But we see that in a lot of instances, especially I know in Nassau, there are lots of businesses and office places that are closing down because of COVID. A lot of people are going home because of COVID. And I think that
I was just told today that that banks, well, not all, but some banks now are operating until 1 o'clock.
Half day, right? And this too goes back to what I said way back from the beginning. We have to implement protocols that allow us to live with this and manage this. And one of the things that we don't do a lot of is like the constant cleaning down and the constant you can use chemicals in order to at least sanitize the buildings. And I think that going forward, a lot of these businesses are going to have to sanitize their buildings a lot more often than they would have thought, because now you have more people that are going in and out of these buildings. We need to make a lot of our systems more remote so that there is less face-to-face contact, especially with government buildings. I mean, you can't afford to have an entire office out. And we've seen that here on Eleuthera, offices are completely closed and there's absolutely nothing you can do. There's no one is at fault, but business should not end because you're having the situation. We've had
you said something
plan. Just implement protocols that allow us to work within
remotely.
The system that we have now.
Yes, you are very right, because we have got to now accept what I hate to say the new norm, but yes, listen, I have seen other people in other countries do it. They take a lunch hour. Now, Bahamians could be quite unethical at times, but then that is where some proper clocking system is in place and for the remote operations of a business, a government agency, whatever. But because remote work for now, I think, has to be the order of the day for half of the office staff. I think it was the Prime Minister spoke the last time he addressed the nation. Could have been Sunday, could have been somewhere around there. The Prime Minister said that he is instructing senior government officials to now develop a shift system. Now, I know our system is still very much archaic and it needs modernizing, but again, those people can work from home and be just as productive.
Even more.
Matter of fact, perhaps more productive on the job.
Right.
Right.
I think that we have to go to that route, and we have to look at balancing it and not say that, oh, it can't be done. We have to make a way for it to be done. There are scanners I mean, you can use your phone. I've been using my phone for years to scan a document and email it. That's easy to do. And we've digitized signatures years ago. So your electronic signature is valid. It's legally binding. So I don't see why we have these issues and ideas that you have to bring in a physical copy of your document. I see a lot of people, even with people that are being stopped by the police, people have their physical IDs and on them, they have it on their phones. What's the problem? It's a representation of who I am. If I can send the same document into the passport office and have my passport renewed online, why can't you accept that this is a digital copy of
but see, and that is why this message has to be shared and spread and accepted throughout the system. Because like you say, okay, the police stop you or pull you over, or how they have a roadblock, etc., whatever it could be, and you, hey, this is my identification. They don't accept it. They want a hard copy of something. And so, it's just sort of like the entire system has to be speaking the same language. Oh, quite very much so. Has to be speaking the same language. Good afternoon to you, Glenroy. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Good afternoon to you, Shanique, and good afternoon, Danielle. Good afternoon to public. Hello.
We are talking about his voice sounds so nice and rich and deep, right? We are talking.
Seems like he's going to be very non-combative today.
No, very relaxed, like totally relaxed. I know you seem very zen. Glenroy, Danielle talked about government agencies and Eleuthera and its Eleuthera's issues, etc. The passport office has been hit hard. People are still recovering from that. Many people are still out. And obviously something has to be done, but we also started the show talking about, I guess, the latest news coming out that attorney and Wayne Monroe, who is also the PLP's candidate for Freetown, is in hospital after testing positive for COVID. Your thoughts about just these numbers and the variance and what is it that a lot of people are now just getting serious. Some still a bit dismissive, but the majority getting serious, whether or not they're vaccinated or not. But your thoughts on just everything that's now unfolding.
Yeah, this is very interesting because Danielle mentioned some good points as well. But one of the challenges is in every system, systems can be improved and elevated and all the other stuff. There has to be compliance. And see, without compliance, their system wouldn't work. The only reason why things fail is because people are not adhering to what systems are in place. For example, when you look at a lot of locations where masks are required, some may be wearing masks, but they're not wearing them properly. You have people who are comfortable in working environments who, because they work with each other daily, they feel it's okay to take the mask off.
Yes, you're so right. Too relaxed and complacent, yes.
And so these are part of the challenges that we face. And then you also have those individuals, and take it for what it's worth. The stats are there for us to know and to see. When you talk about the vaccination, right? The opportunity for you not to be adversely impacted is there with the vaccination, according to the statistics. The information is there to prove that point. All right. Now, you don't have to take the vaccine. But if you're not being responsible and you're not doing everything to protect yourself, you can see how this thing is exploding. And we are the only set of people who can actually bring closure to this. No matter what systems are in place, no matter what, listen, you can go in a lot of businesses right now, they're sanitizing stations. Sometimes the sanitizing stations isn't as full as they should be. You can go places and they're doing the temperature check, they're giving you the sanitization situation, but some people still not wearing masks. People still doing what they want to do. Some people don't observe the 6-foot distancing. They right up on you.
Man, it's like, Glenroy, don't talk about that. That was so irksome to me just this afternoon. I'm making some purchases to try and make me a vegetable soup. And I'm like, well, sir, you could see the marking there where you should be. Like, why you here? It's irksome, man. This is not the time for games and to be ignorant.
Yeah, and you know what, they'll argue with you. They'll turn around and say something like, man, there's a pandemic, and they belittle you because of you trying to make sure that you protect yourself. And the reality is that, you have to protect yourself because I mean, when you watch that story the other day with the young man who lost his mother and uncle and all his family and some of his family members, that's heartbreaking. And that is exactly what everybody is trying to avoid. And especially when you talk about the older people among us, right? If they could be adversely impacted, and even those who are potential ailing situations that they're already dealing with, if we start losing people in that fashion, that has a detrimental impact on knowledge and wisdom that can be shared throughout the years and the ages, because a lot of these people still have a lot of information to offer. And if they're taken out before their time, we're in a crisis, you know?
Glenroy and Danielle, Glenroy, I want to ask you this. Are you
out before your time?
I'm sorry,
Everything
Danielle?
is in a season. Everything has a season, Glenroy, and I think that
I disagree with
the
that.
season that we are in, I think that it is unrealistic to think that the Bahamas can control its COVID situation when the entire world cannot. We depend on
that's
the
not
world.
what I'm saying.
I still feel as though, Danielle, a lot of things can be avoided if wisdom prevails. I still feel that way, but I want to ask you something. I don't know if you were referring to, because let's go there. Let's just go there, okay? Are you referring to and something that came out of the Church of God Youth Convention?
Well, there was I don't know if it's youth convention, but it was a convention. When you look at some of the photos and some of the information that is out there, you could clearly see some people are not wearing masks properly. You know, you could clearly see certain things there. In a gathering of such size, in the midst of a pandemic, it was ill-advised. Yes, see, we say in our time, things will happen if, listen, you can die, God appoint you to die at this time. No, not necessarily. You could expedite your own death. If I eat unhealthy, that tells you that you will die early, right? I mean, that's factual. If I go and jump from a building and I say, I ain't gonna die now, I mean, that's foolish. I mean, you have to exercise wisdom. And so when you ignore the wisdom that sustains your life and you put yourself in harm's way, you can't blame nobody else. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not taking this pandemic seriously enough to protect themselves. Now, there are instances, it's no fault of other individuals because of the fact that, hey, listen, there are people who are doing all they can and all they should to protect themselves. But then again, you have some irresponsible Bahamians who are doing other foolishness that is creating problems for other people as well.
I want to ask you, Danielle, and boy, I want to be careful how we do this, but do you really think the organizers, the leadership of that convention should be made to answer to their decisions?
Shanique, like Glenroy said, I think that everything is a personal choice. You didn't have to go. The church doors are open, and I know that there are a lot of people.
Go to church. You know that you don't go to no church. You see that you first of all you ain't quite safe. You ain't safe if you don't show up. If you ain't show up and supporting.
But you don't have to go. Especially if you know that you have an underlying condition, you don't have to go. Like
you don't need to have one.
It's personal choice and personal responsibility. If you know that there's going to be a crowd of people, you don't have to go. Nobody pressures you into going. The Spirit of the Lord is with you wherever you are. You can praise Him, and I'm sure that it's virtual. And if it's virtual, tune in virtually. I think that people are. I mean, some people are irresponsible. If it's me and I'm going in, and your church has a capacity, and this is what I said from the beginning. In the U.S., a lot of places, the fire marshals have a restriction on the amount of people that can go into a
building. Yeah.
I went to a funeral service, and the church was big enough, and they could hold 90 people at their social distancing. When we reached 90, the pastor said, nobody else. And that was it.
Oh, wow. Well, now that was commendable of him.
The doors were shut. And this was at a funeral. The doors were shut. And no, he wasn't sneaking in. No, nothing. And the family was, no. This is a list of family members that are coming in. After they done in, it don't matter. 90 people and that's it. And I think that you have to be that responsible to know what is your maximum capacity. So if your church is 20,000 square foot, you need to divide that by 6 foot per person or whatever the measuring is. The measurements are in order to estimate how many people can hold in that building and stick to that. And that's your first level of responsibility, and that's your first line of defense. The next is to ensure that people are wearing their masks properly.
Yes.
And then the
Yes.
third is to make sure that everyone is sanitized, or to make sure that you've actually sanitized your building beforehand and then again after.
And see, and that's where the challenge comes into play. I mean, and here it is: you have responsible church leaders who doing all that they should and could do to ensure that the people remain safe and all that other stuff. But you have the parishioners who protect them. God got their back, not exercising wisdom. And see, this is where you have this thin line of either allowing it or not allowing it from the competent authority perspective. Do you allow more people to continue to harm themselves? In life, sometimes, you know what we do? We protect people by shutting them off from opportunities. For example, if you're sitting at a bar and you know this person not too much to drink as a bartender, your responsibility, regardless if that person's right to buy a beverage, you're supposed to cut him off. Okay, there's a certain limit that you recognize that he's reached, and you need to cut him off. But if you continue to feed him and drink and give him more drink, he becomes belligerent, he becomes combative, and he starts to destroy the place. You are culpable in that. And so that is where the responsibility comes from both individuals. And if you're going to a establishment and you recognize that the numbers are way beyond the capacity that it should, then you should remove yourself from that. Protect yourself. Listen, when you laying up in the hospital by yourself, you by yourself. You can't carry your mommy, your daddy, your brother, your sister. You die alone if you die, and then you're gonna be in there suffering by yourself. And that is something to think about. And that is where the reality should hit people.
Glenroy, so do you think that those who, the organizers, the leadership, should be made to answer some questions?
Well, as it relates to the leadership answering some questions, see, but then the challenge is now, because of the time frame, who is to say that actually transpired as a result of that? Who is to say that those folks weren't sick when they came there? And see, because the time has lapsed so long, you can't even determine to say how many persons now would have attended that conference who have contracted COVID and do a background search and all that other stuff. All that is required to make some kind of or have some kind of resolve to dealing with the individuals who may be responsible. But at this stage, I think it's really too late.
Right. And this is the contact tracing, Glenroy, that we're talking about, and we continue to talk about. The system in some cases, the system is broken. And if we aren't able to contain the numbers and know who's where, especially for an event of that proportion, you don't know who is there. Anyone could have been there. And like you said, like I've said earlier, there are lots of government buildings or businesses that are riddled with COVID-19 right now. You don't know who from one of those places may have been to church and they may have gotten it or contracted it at work and spread it there or not. And it's not necessarily that anybody got it from there. It's just maybe that was one place that they all went. 200 people could have gone there with COVID. Some may have been symptomatic and some may have been asymptomatic. We don't know, and that is the risk that you take.
Yeah.
I tell you, of course, we will continue to monitor the situation, and we don't expect anything of it. It's just very sad, though, and of course, our thoughts and prayers are with the family and all affected from what happened. It's just so very, very sad. One quick
thing. Sorry, Shanique. I see somebody saying that contact tracing isn't working. That's when you cause a system to be overwhelmed. When the system is overwhelmed, contact tracing would never work. That's the whole point, eh? You cannot see if this thing continue to explode, you're burdening the system. You can only have X amount of contact traces. At a certain point, when you are overloaded with having the contact trace, you will never get out of this. That's why people need to be responsible. So that's just wanted to add that in there.
You're very right. And I'll tell you another thing about being responsible. Our people think that somehow it's a joke to beat the system. So you got people who know that they have been positive and should be at home quarantining, and thank God they're healthy enough to be at home and in quarantine. So, but guess what they're doing? They're about all over the place more than you and me. And so this is another part of the foolishness.
Yeah, that's been the case from day one, though, Shanique. There have been a lot of people who don't care that they should be quarantining or that they have been in direct contact with someone that exhibited COVID symptoms or were later tested positive, but they would still be out and have no concern. And they themselves could be asymptomatic, but carrying the virus around, spreading it. So it's personal responsibility. And this is nothing that the competent authority has control over. This is nothing that the police can control. This is nothing that the COVID ambassadors can control. People have to control themselves in that vein.
Absolutely. Stacey Smith says this virus is also in the air. A person would have to be senseless not to know that. Some people who have been very cautious have also been affected by COVID. I'm trying to open this comment. Black Velvet says people are not taking the COVID-19 seriously, regardless to what anyone thinks. The selfish acts of many are causing, and I imagine she's saying, others to be exposed. Sandra Hanna says some pastors don't care about the numbers. They just want people to attend. That is what Sandra was trying to tell Danny, that because I don't know which church she goes to. When ain't nothing like a church type guilt on you when they figure you ain't saved and you ain't, you ain't really in the spirit like that on the level of the church, because how dare you want to watch online when you could actually come in and worship?
Oh, Shanika, I ain't gonna lie. I just wanted to be real ghetto just now and say Judge Jamar. Right? But because at the end of the day, you have to be responsible for yourself. You have your own family to look out for. The church, you can't allow someone's opinion to guilt you into doing something that you feel in yourself is wrong. You just can't. You need to take responsibility for yourself and your family. Nobody could tell me I have to go someplace. Somebody just said, oh, their boss said they should take the vaccine. And she was like, but I ready to quit my job because I ain't gonna be forced into it. I'm gonna take it when I feel that it's at my level of comfort.
When the comfort, comfortable with it.
But to tell me that I can't work, then I ain't gonna work. Thanks. But you can't force someone into these things. Let people come to the realities on their own. And it's only through education that people will feel as though they should do it.
And that is why I'm a proponent of having an educational campaign right alongside this vaccine program, because there's a lot of information, whether it's misinformation, but that is drowning out what the vaccine information is. And so people are on the fence, and people are not sure which direction to go right now. And that's why a lot are saying, well, you know what, let me just kind of wait for a minute.
Wait, Shanique, it's funny. I don't care how much information. I don't care how much information is out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see people dying and that don't sober you up, something got to be wrong.
But Danielle, you wanted to jump in?
Dying that have taken the vaccine as well. So it's not, you can't just say that. But in any event.
No, that's not. No. Don't put that out there. See, that's not factual.
In the next 30 days. Oh, really? What are the facts?
Yeah, but that's not factual. See, don't see that's the
what is not factual? Glenn Roy.
No, she said
people with the vaccine are people with the. Go ahead, Danielle. Finish your point, Danielle. What you say, Danielle?
It's attributed to
Glenn Roy, let Danielle finish her point. What you say?
No, don't say that. Because I have family members that work in hospitals all over the world. And there are people that are both vaccinated and unvaccinated that are still contracting COVID and are still being hospitalized because of it.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. You can still.
But death. You said death.
You can still.
Let's be clear. The statistics on death among those who have been vaccinated is very low. Very, very low. Let's be clear. Let's be clear on that.
It's not impossible.
No. Yeah, but no, hold on. But I want us to be clear. See, when we are communicating, we have to communicate the facts that are out there. The fact states that there are very minimal deaths with persons who have been vaccinated. Now, those who have not been vaccinated, they are dying in much larger numbers. That's the facts. Let's not be, let's play.
So, Glenn, I mean, if somebody decides that they're not going to be vaccinated and they end up dying, do you feel guilty?
Feel guilty for what?
Exactly.
No, listen. Let me explain again. I believe personally that if you are not vaccinated, you have a responsibility to be responsible. If you're being irresponsible, I don't feel sorry for you. If you're not adhering to the rules, you're not abiding by the guidelines and all that, and you want to party like a rock star and act like COVID ain't real, and you catch COVID and you die, I am not crying for you. Now, there are persons out there who have sincere reasons why they don't want to take the vaccine, and I don't have a problem with those persons. But some of those same persons who are not taking the vaccine are being responsible. I'm not talking about the responsible ones. I'm talking about the irresponsible ones.
Right. There are a lot of irresponsible ones.
Someone that is vaccinated can also transmit the COVID virus.
But they got to be responsible too.
The vaccinated
and can also be irresponsible as well.
Got a free pass the other day.
But they got to be responsible.
Well, they can't be. They can't. Well, guys, they can't get a free pass. We know that because when it was announced that the COVID, the pandemic is over for those who are vaccinated, it's almost like the U.S. saying, if you're vaccinated, don't wear masks. Now, I guess different states are going back and forth on that flip flop. Like it is always. It is this fluid situation that continues to just sort of move here, move there, worldwide, truly. Let's just get to one or two more comments. Suzette Josie Baston says, why and how did COVID authority allow the convention to happen? I don't think the church was very adamant recently that let the government govern and let the church do what it does. Now, I don't know if some sort of, I don't even think that there had to be some presentation made. All I know is that it was said that now go back to churches being at 30% of their capacity. And so, but obviously we saw the pictures. But I don't think they had to make a request to the competent authority to host a convention, especially in this country. I just don't believe so. The system is very broken, and the statement of many is, I just running out for a few moments. That's Black Velvet Taylor. Exactly, Glenroy, you are absolutely correct. It is impossible to say that they contracted it at church. If a proper investigation is carried out, please guys, forgive me. This phone is just having a little issue. If a proper investigation is carried out, pardon me. It's impossible to say that they contracted it at church if a proper investigation wasn't done. Let's just see if I can get to another comment. Sandra Hanna says there should be tougher penalties for people who are congregating, especially if they are not wearing masks and not social distancing as they should. I absolutely, I agree, and then I think it was Glenroy who talked about the fact that some masks and how it was being worn or how they were being worn, just obviously not the way it should be. Brenda Cooper says there is no contact tracing, period. There is a few, but it's sorely lacking, Brenda. But some people are called and say, listen, quarantine, and they try to do a tracing. And as you said, some people, again, they have to try and call the Ministry of Health. They have to continue numerous times trying to reach out to the Ministry of Health to say, hey, wait a minute, this is what's going on, etc. Sherry Bethel says, sad people need to really sit down and stop spreading. Absolutely, but who can tell them to stop? Sandra Hanna, people have to be responsible for their own actions. Absolutely. Tiffany Roll, everyone has to take responsibility for their actions. Darlene Higgs Hollis, Darlene Higgs in Atlanta, by the way. Hello to you, Darlene. My church is still online. So you see there? So don't mind, and everybody did, but the US, listen, you hear her what she said in Atlanta? Their church is still online. They have not gone back in person yet. And I've heard a number of pastors say it. Mind you, now we can see one or two pastors kind of easing their way back into service, but not at capacity. So she said, my church is still online. We met for a small meeting on Sunday and took measures. So they had a small meeting on Sunday past, and they took measures to make sure that whoever was in attendance was social distance. Good afternoon to you, Demetrius Knowles. Demetrius in South Florida, good afternoon to you. Darlene says, here in the United States, jobs are requiring vaccinations. Jobs requiring vaccinations is not new. The flu vaccine was required for some jobs. Plus, colleges and universities require this of students, as well as K through 12 schools. Oh, wow. So they're requiring that you are vaccinated? Listen to me, y'all. What do you all think? Let's just jump right in. We're going to take a break in a minute, but let's just jump into the mandatory vaccine. There's a movement going on with a political leader who is heading it. And this movement is growing and gaining momentum. They are using this as, I guess, some sort of campaign, something that no, You cannot mandate vaccines. Now, the government has said, I think just last week, they are not saying it's mandatory, etc. But what do you all think about this? You heard Darlene say now schools, jobs are almost making it mandatory. We heard that the last I heard, the president was considering making it mandatory for frontline workers, but it looks like this is kind of filtering through the system. Thoughts, Glenroy?
Yeah, I think I mean, fair setting in, because what people are saying is this prolonged situation. If this continue to happen the way it's happening, it's going to make a lot of people bankrupt. That's one aspect of it. Because what happened is, if you have a major breadwinner in the family that is taken out by COVID, some people could be plunged into poverty. That's some serious stuff there. Then you also have this prolonged sickness where people are off from their jobs for X amount of time and they're not getting any income as a result of that. That's another challenge. And so what is happening, in businesses find themselves having to close because of it. And when you're talking about commerce being impacted by anything, people start to think about different things. I don't agree with a mandatory forced vaccination policy, because I don't think anybody should have anything forced upon them and injected in them if they don't want it. But I would say this as well. We also have to look at the information. You know, I err on the side of caution, because if taking the vaccine can lessen my chances of being adversely impacted to the point where I can potentially die, then to me, I think that's a better option as opposed to not taking it at all. That's personal for me. All right. But as it relates to people and this pandemic and this whole concept about forced vaccination, I understand the intent, but I know in our culture, in the Bahamian scenario, it ain't gonna fly.
Really?
No.
Okay. Well, guys, listen, let me get to a few more comments and then we will take a break because we have a lot more to get to, but I can see we can have to pull back on some of those areas. Norma Goodman says, stop forcing people to take the vaccine. It should be their choice. Even God gave us a choice, she says. Let's just see if I can get to a few more comments. Ivory Green Carol says, if Minister tries to force this vaccine on us or our kids, we will push back. We will not assault, you will not assault my constitutional rights. We have a right to choose. Here is Tamala Nicole Forbes. That's the facts that they want you to know. What damn facts, she says. Sandra Hanna, Glenroy, you are speaking the truth. Nicole Saunders, that's why the Prime Minister should not say the vaccinated people are free. No, shoots, that one right there. No, sir. Because, and then that made a lot of them very relaxed. You talk about the partying and irresponsible. A lot of them became very relaxed and irresponsible because of that statement. So here is Eva Rule says vaccinated and non-vaccinated people should be responsible. Glenroy, statistics show that 1% of people who acquire COVID-19 dies. That percentage is very low. Also, so what's your point? This is Stacy Smith. Also, first time I am on Glenroy's side, that is Darlene Johnson. Glenroy. Lewis Barton says, keep in mind, they don't have to wear masks. Yes, they should. In the Bahamas, I think the vaccinated still have to wear masks. Only in the US, they kind of put that out there. The vaccinated still have to wear masks, even though, and again, we are very lax and we've become lax because a lot of them don't. It's not because they don't have to. A lot of them decided they don't need to. Anne Green says, Glenroy, vaccinated people are picking it up and spreading it more. I've seen a report on that. Angel Roca says, Minute said the vaccinated are out of the pandemic. A careless statement. Darlene Johnson says, what happened to contact tracing? It needs help, Darlene. It needs help. At the least. Ask Glenroy, how does he feel about the Prime Minister saying that those who are vaccinated are no longer in the pandemic? This is Stacy Smith. Glenroy, I don't know if you want to answer that because I know that you will stand, you have a position on it.
I would say this. Those who have been vaccinated have less of a chance of being adversely impacted by it. That statement I stand on. And I've seen individuals who are in households where persons who are sick with the virus and those who have been vaccinated in the same household, the ones who have been vaccinated fared better than the ones who weren't. I know this for a fact, and this isn't guessing. And so therefore, I stand on that belief.
Clyde Cornish says, some church leaders are not responsible and they don't want to listen pardon me, and they don't listen, and they want to oppose the government, as I told someone earlier. And the church leaders are like, "How dare you? Excuse me, you govern. It's the church. Don't play with us." This sort of the position of the church. Anne Green says, "But you do have to be responsible for yourself." I agree with Glenroy on that. Listen, when we come back, Nicole, let me just see if I can get to your comment, Nicole Saunders. Information from the Prime Minister said that once you are vaccinated, you can go to parties. See that right there. Happy hour. It's the top who are making the callous statements, and it's sad. They are still trying to figure it out themselves. Pastor Bryant has been locked down for way over a year. Pastor Bryant, Kizzy, who is that in Atlanta? You mean that mega church? Because then that's smart. So Darlene Johnson says Florida now has 3/4. Is it 3 or 4? Oh, I guess she means 3 or 4 variants. Listen, you all, and then another thing, sit down home if you ain't got to go nowhere. Danielle, where you been recently? That's what I'd like to know. Where you been?
About my children's business, Shinny. And I girl again.
Danielle, sit your tail home.
I have to carry my son to college. He's about to be a freshman. What's going on? I had to travel.
I know,
Life
right?
don't stop, Life
No, it
don't
doesn't.
Stop.
No,
Don't stop.
no. Hello to you.
Way to work around this.
Hello to Trebor. Trebor, your last name, Ilonam, from Georgia, watching from Georgia. Yes, you have to be careful going to Florida. This is what Darlene Johnson is saying because of what's happening in Florida right now. When we come back, guys, we're going to shift gears a little bit and look at the Speaker of the House of Assembly. Has he gone rogue? Has he taken over Parliament? Is this personal? Is it a vendetta? Is he trying to gain political mileage? What is going on with Speaker of the House of Assembly, Halsan Mutri? Guys, we'll tell you the reason for those questions and what he is now proposing to do when we come back right after the break. Stay close.
Make this your best summer ever with Flirty Girl's Sexy Summer Slim Down. Lose weight and win up to $3,000 in prizes. Sign up today and enjoy weekly challenges, weight loss coaching, and unlimited group workouts, including fat blasting boot camp, yoga, Pilates, cardio boxing, hardcore abs, dance off the pounds, and more. Enroll as a VIP and receive a free 7-day detox, 1 free laser lipo treatment, discounts on body contouring, facials, and Brazilian wax, plus massage and sauna treatments for just $1 per minute, all summer long. That's right, all summer long. Prizes include 1 year of free body contouring, free fitness programs, and so much more. All participants will be invited to take part in our sexy summer photo shoot to show off their results. So come on, what are you waiting for? Registration ends June 10th. Call 677-1689 or WhatsApp 467-9630 for more information.
Topics Wednesday. Good afternoon to all of you. It's great to have you all streaming with us. Before we get to what's happening in Parliament and what's going on, here is Darlene Higgs Hollis says, guess what? My doctor just visited Nassau and she commended the measures that she saw the Bahamas taking while she was there. No, we're doing well. We're doing better than the US, I think. You know what I mean? But we're doing well. I think that we're doing well. but we can do so much better. And then all of us need to jump on it and play our parts. Hope Walker says, we need to understand that being vaccinated does not prohibit one from catching the virus. Sandra Hanna says, everyone should wear their mask, vaccinated or not vaccinated. Welcome back to the show. By the way, if you haven't done so already, please do share the live stream. It's good to have you all streaming. Of course, I always love to get your comments in and let you have your say. And so that's exactly what I'm doing before we go on to the next topic. Mr. Glenroy, it sure sounds to me as if you have a problem with persons that are not vaccinated by choice, even if they are responsible. Just my 5 cents. That's Tamala Nicole Forbes. Here is Stacy Smith. No one should be ashamed or shamed for not taking the vaccine. Simply need to respect others and their position. This COVID-19 fiasco has made people want to control others, and it's wrong, man. And Stacy, but not even on this level. It's beyond this level. Many people are complaining about and talking about the level of control and all that stuff that's happening globally right now. Demetrius Noel says we have to be responsible as vaccinated people or not vaccinated. And Demetrius, I'm wondering how your businesses are doing in South Florida. Like, are you open fully? Like, what's happening there? Because he is someone who operates a business in multiple locations in Florida, and we hear what's happening in Florida. Thank you very much, Karen Hebburn. Thank you very, very much. So much appreciated. Listen, guys, welcome back to the conversation. Glenroy Pratt and Danielle Gibson. You all, the Speaker of the House of Assembly. First of all, he's been the most outspoken, the most I don't know. It's everything about it has been unprecedented. He is, some see it maybe as combative. He sees it as, nope, I am operating as the Constitution mandates in the Westminster system for me to operate. What are you gonna do? Listen, guys, here's what it is in my own words. Let me just sum it up right here. The Speaker, starting next Wednesday at 10 a.m. to 1, is calling an open parliament. He says this where you can come, he can come, she can come, and voice your opinions, your concerns, your thoughts, your etc. And I think it has to do with the fact that he says this is the longest time Parliament has been on a break. I know that there's a parliamentary term for that, but it's not been dissolved. And so he's like, what's up? It's ain't happened. So if that happened before, then I could do this. Danielle Glenroy, your thoughts about what Halson Mutri, Speaker of the Bahamian Parliament, and these steps that he is taking. Your thoughts?
Shanique, what I can say is this, right? I think that for the very first time, whatever is happening between the Speaker and the leadership,
and that's I think that's exactly where it is, right there.
It actually has educated or caused us to be a lot more educated about the Westminster system, the Speaker, and his powers, and we are seeing a lot of new things happen on a regular basis because things have always been so okay.
Yeah, speakers have been try to be fair, but we know that they kind of toed the line of their party.
Right, exactly. So this is the first time that we've seen a fallout like this in my lifetime.
Yes.
And in my years of following politics. And I think that it has happened, but at the end of the day, Bahamians are being educated on what can happen, what cannot happen, and the real and true powers of the Speaker. So now we know how powerful that position is, even though we always knew that they're like the third, most powerful person in cabinet. So now we're trying to figure out what next.
No, for real, you're sitting on the edge of your seat with popcorn, if you eat popcorn, saying, well, what next? What's gonna happen? So what the Prime Minister gonna do when he meet? Is the Prime Minister even, listen, no, but it looks to me like the Prime Minister even is like undaunted. The Prime Minister ain't flinching. The Prime Minister say, dude, you do what you think you need to do. I over here doing this. Glenroy?
Because at the end of the day,
go ahead, Danny. Sorry, Glenroy, let Danny finish. Go ahead.
I mean, at the end of the day, the PM has already said, you're not going to be a candidate. So you're not going to be a part of my cabinet the next time. So I really don't have to study you. We all know that there are some things that the Speaker can do to make things just slightly more difficult.
And that is what he's doing.
Right. But I do believe that the prime minister has already weighed out what he can and cannot do. And if he does take this step, then I know exactly what I need to do. And I think that that's where the prime minister is in his reasoning. And that's why he is resolved to say, you know what, man, hey, do what you're doing, eh? Do what you're doing. But this is your last run. So at the end of the day, I mean, Hudson Moutry will go down in the annals of history as having been the first Speaker of the House to have been this outspoken and this brash. So he'll have his place in history. But he'll be a one-time wonder.
So if it's your history, if your place in history looking for, then it's done, stamped, yes.
Secured.
Glenroy, do you think the speaker is just looking for headlines right now? Because it's cheapy. He might as well, in the Bahamian, he might as well do it.
Well, I'll say this, a little disclaimer. I worked with his wife for many years, and I have respect for her. I'll also say this, as it relates to the speaker, he's obviously speaking for what he believes to be his principal position, and he's standing on his own conviction. I can't fault him for that, but I would fault him for the fact that he knew that he was appointed the position by the prime minister. Unfortunately, he decided to do that on his own will, and he stood on what he wants to stand on. But I'll say this as well, despite the display that he has been showing over the years, and Danny said it, the prime ministers continue to remain focused. I mean, and throughout all the lambasting and all the darts being thrown on him, even beyond just this political situation, he has remained focused and steadfast. I expect any good doctor to remain focused and steadfast. That's training. That's what I see. Precision, focus.
Listen, Stacey Smith says Moutry wants to be the prime minister and he's out of order. That is what her opinion is. Danielle and Glenroy did not want to go in that direction and say all that, Stacey. So you said it. Norma Goodman says the prime minister got all kind of daggers in his back. Just what you said, Glenroy.
Yep.
Hey, IQ Kenny, thank you very much. Thank you, fellow Baldy. Thank you. Stacy says, the only thing Moutry will be remembered for is putting those red pumps in Nassau Village. You're all an easy boy. What you trying to say? So you're trying to say as an independent candidate, he ain't happening? But you all play something, you all Bahamians. You all say you all want something different.
I wonder what they say about Michael Pine.
That's the track record.
What would Michael Pine put?
Pump.
He seems to be one and done as well. He look like he's one and done as well.
Man, I ain't know about that. I heard Michael Pine possibly. I heard Michael Pine possibly look like something may happen in Pine Ridge. I don't know. I
know. Maybe in Pine Salt, but not Pine Ridge.
Oh, shoes, y'all ain't easy now. One thing with y'all ain't easy. Listen, in these moments, the prime minister has said that he is unsure that the emergency orders should or should not be extended. He's still on the fence with that. Your thoughts, and particularly now, I mean, I didn't expect him to even sort of there be a question mark there.
Shanique, I'm going to say this, and this is my personal conviction, especially on the mass spread of COVID-19 at this point. We have continuously had differences of opinions on this, but I will say this: free testing is key and paramount to helping to resolve this. And in addition to that, I've traveled to the US on several occasions, and not one time was I able to go to the US, whether vaccinated or unvaccinated, without being tested. Yeah. I think that we made a very grave mistake. I said this from day one. So this is not a political stance. This is just a personal opinion, is the fact that if somebody that is vaccinated can still transmit COVID-19, we should still exercise as much caution as possible, especially since in most states, testing is free. So it isn't putting them out of their way any more than 15, 20 minutes to go and get tested and then come to the Bahamas.
I agree.
So I don't understand why we felt as though it would make them feel like you're putting extra pressure on them to get to the Bahamas. Just get tested and then come and do what you're doing. Because from what I understand from someone that works in a lab, a lot of those 5-day tests are coming back positive from vaccinated people.
Whoa. Of course, you know, the travel requirements have been changed. Right now, as it
of the
stands,
6th.
yes, and the 6th,
The 6th.
it was not effective immediately.
It's the 6th.
Well, why did
Some
Dickens
of them will come into effect on the 6th.
some of them. Okay. Well, overall, the travel requirements have been changed. Of course, international visitors will have to be tested, vaccinated or not. Then, of course, traveling throughout the country. And Glenroy, I'll let you get to the emergency orders in a minute. But just as by way of information, which many people would have seen already, from between 2 and 12, let's just say this then, as young as 2 will have to be tested to travel anywhere, through the country, outside the country. And you know what? It may say, my God, that's a bit much. But boy, right now we need anything needs to happen, any and everything. You know, I heard recently a 5-month-old was the victim of COVID. Of course, that doesn't happen often, but it's just so heart-wrenching hearing that. And so now it's and perhaps that's the part that Danny is talking about that comes into effect on the 6th. But a 2-year, as young as 2, will have to be tested. Glenroy, your thoughts on the Prime Minister sort of being on the fence about extending the emergency orders?
Well, you know, I mean, and obviously, again, the Bahamas have a strong reliance on the tourist dollar. And so extending the emergency order has an impact on our ability to continue to generate the revenue we need to function as a country. And that is a tough situation to be in. Obviously, there are people who don't like the emergency orders, and nobody, I don't even think the Prime Minister likes them as much people like to say that he does. I know that he has family members that is equally being impacted by it, and I'm sure that they are giving him mouthful about it as well. But the reality of it is, what do you do? You know, I hear a lot of complaining about what we shouldn't do, but there aren't much conversation on what we should do. And the reality is that this is a fluid situation. And so I expect the decisions that are being made to be fluid based on the circumstances that are arising. And we've seen that. We've seen some relaxing. We've seen some tightening. We've seen these things happen based on the numbers that are increasing or decreasing. And that is the juggling that is continuing to take place. And unfortunately, that is how it's going to be until we really figure this thing out. And the reality is, again, we can get out of this quicker based on our responsibility. Now, some may argue the fact that, okay, when the decision was made to allow people to come in the country without being tested is a challenge. Listen, it's a challenge letting them come into the country, tested or not tested. Because at the end of the day, I can test today and show negative and then tomorrow be positive. All right? Because I could go and frolic right after I gotten tested and pick up the virus. That is the dilemma that we're in. And so we have to decide as a nation where we're going to go as relates to our economy and where we want our country to grow. That's just where we're at.
You all, let's Glenroy did not laugh at you. I have to share the slide.
Yeah.
Between Kizzy and Stacey, I don't know. I have no idea. Kizzy says the speaker, no, he ain't coming back. That's why he doing the most in that little chair. Listen to me. Y'all gotta behave when people live. You know what I mean? Like, tell this to me in my ear. You know. So let's just see. Stacey. I saw the comment, but Stacey with the red pump. But here's somebody in the United States. She has been vaccinated. Darlene Hollis says, "I'll gladly take the test, even though vaccinated. I just want to visit home." Darlene will come visit. Take it, and you've been vaccinated. Take the test. Take the test. Carlene Edwards Hanna says, again, make the tests free, especially since we are now asking from 2 years old. I know it's something that was discontinued. I think the fees for the travel visa, now that does not make the test itself free. So hopefully we can get to that because
let's just switch it.
Let's switch it.
The test costs $200 on Elutra.
Yeah.
So let's just switch it. I'd gladly pay $25 versus $200 for a test.
Yeah. I agree.
I get all my tests free in the US.
Yeah, but hold on. If you have symptoms right now and you feel like you need to be tested and you go to a public clinic, wouldn't a test be given to you free of charge?
Glenroy, it is free.
No, answer the question. That's the question.
It is free.
Okay, so it's free. So where's the issue?
There are lots of people that are walking around asymptomatic. And you want me to tell you what the real problem is? Here's the real problem where it came in, and it happened here in Elutra. A person tested positive. Not just that one person, but multiple people in that home one of those persons sleeping with someone else. The government clinic refused to test that person because they showed no signs of COVID. Just because you show no signs doesn't mean that you don't have it.
Okay,
So
but let me ask you a question.
Let us wrap up.
$200 to get tested to find out if they are asymptomatic or if they actually have COVID and if they are transmissible, because they sleeping with the person every night between the time that person was exposed to the time that person was actually, even after the person was showing symptoms. So it makes sense to test people who have been in
exposed
contact with someone that is affected. It just makes sense.
That is so true, man. That is doggone true, Glenroy. Go ahead.
Right? But the problem in this country, and again, we continue to blame governments. It's a common sense thing to me. If you know that as a nurse or whoever inside those clinics, and the person comes and present themselves and shows where the person who they're living with has COVID, and you say, listen, I live with this person, I'm here with this person, I need you to test me. Common sense should prevail and say, you know what, let me test you. You don't have to get approval in the government to make that decision for you. That's just common sense. But see, sometimes again,
yeah, but with common sense ain't much common around here.
That is the problem. And so what ends up happening is governments get blamed. I don't care if it's PLP or FNM for foolishness that takes place within our own people. We have to learn to allow common sense to prevail in the execution of our duties. And far too often in this country, in the Bahamas, we blame governments and we are not using our practical common sense for situations just like what she just presented.
And we have seen it. We have seen the complaints many times against the police. Common sense that we feel as though, my God, just use your discretion. Here is Alexandra Pinder says, I know people working in the morgues. She says, okay, she knows people working in the morgues with case after case of people dying. And we are here arguing over taking a vaccine that helps to build antibodies to stop you from being in hospital. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I say, listen, have a dual campaign going on. Education, pushing, yeah, of course, push the vaccine and also push the information to accompany the vaccine. Glenroy and Danielle, I appreciate you guys for just always coming prepared. We didn't get to half of what we were to talk about today, but that's fine. I want to give you each an opportunity, no more than 60 seconds. No, you all know what that is? 60 seconds, especially you, Glenroy. To have a wrap-up comment.
Well, let me close with this. At the end of the day, in this country, we could blame governments, and governments come and go. But the only consistent thing that is prevalent is the people and the electorate. If we are going to see change in this country, it has to start with every single one of us. And if we expect to see things grow and develop the way we expect them to, we as a people have to elevate our game, bring our A game to the table, and work like that's our last day. And make sure that we build this country called the Bahamas. Until we do that, we are fooling ourselves with thinking that change of government will change our problem.
Right. So in any event, Shanique, here's the thing. COVID-19 is the situation that we find ourselves in. I advocate, and I have from day one until now, having traveled and being able to get free testing, I say offer free testing to people, especially if they are sick or if they have been directly exposed to people. It will lessen our chances and also to increase contact tracing, especially on the family islands. One of the other things that we need to do is we spending all kinds of money on garbage like sidewalks. Why not on ventilators? At least so the family islands can have ventilators. We have like 2 air ambulance flights. That is not nearly enough for the amount of COVID that's happening on all of the family islands, and people need to be transported to Nassau just to be on a ventilator because they're having breathing problems. Why isn't it that our clinics are outfitted with at least one in every district? So 1 in every district. We have a lot of people all over the world that we can get to help us to get these things. So let's just get it together. If we were talking about saving people's lives and the safety of our communities, then let's put the things in place that at least are going to help them or are gonna alleviate, because we're going to keep getting people to come into our communities. So there's no way that we're going to keep COVID out.
I thank you both very, very much. Always very sharp, intelligent, wonderful commentary and researched opinions. I thank you very, very much. Social media audience, I also thank you all for streaming today, for participating, and for letting your voices and opinions be heard. Thank you very, very much. Also, Cara, thank you. Thank you so much for being behind the scenes today. If you haven't done so, please do share the live stream, get some people to watch this over again. And once again, of course, we pay tribute to the country's first Deputy Prime Minister and former Governor General, AD Hanna, and of course, his family as well. Listen, guys, see you on the next live. Meantime, continue to stay tuned to the conversation, the page, and see what we come up with next and what else we have posting on the page, because we do stay. Kizzy, is that you talking about another hour? You and Stacy don't even go to the head of the class, go to the back of the room. And so I thank you all so much for watching. Please do share the live stream and please tag several people in here so more people can watch it. Thank you all so much. Everybody have a great day.
Stay safe.
I need a little conversation.